before we dive into ACT test taking strategies, guys, I have a dating tip for you. If there's a girl you want to impress, here's what you need to do. Cook for her. Women love this, really. But here's the thing, if you want to cook for her, you want to look confident, you want to look really comfortable doing it, it's really tacky if you spend all this time reading a recipe and trying to figure out what it's talking about. So you're going to want to know your recipe ahead of time, so you'll look pretty good just carrying it through. You also don't want to take a long time making the food. What if she's starving? Not very cool. So you want to know up front what you're going to do, and you want to do it really quickly and efficiently so you look comfortable and confident. Well, ACT is exactly like that. You want to come in comfortable, confident. You want to know the directions ahead of time so you feel good about what you're about to do. And you also want to know a lot about pacing so you can tackle all the questions you need in the short period of time that you have. Let's get started. First, very quickly, know the directions ahead of time. Memorize them. You don't want to be reading them. We're going to go over all the directions for each of the sections as we hit that section. So you're going to be really familiar with the directions before you get there on test day. You don't want to be that person spending a minute, maybe 2 minutes, reading directions on test day when you could have known them beforehand. We talked about knowing the directions ahead of time. Let's talk about pacing. On the ACT, there's not a lot of time, and you've got a lot of questions that you have to answer. You're going to want to set a target score to determine your pace, to determine how fast you're going to want to go through the sections. What do I mean by that? Well, you're going to use your practice test results to figure out what's a target score that you're aiming for and how many questions you have to get right to get that score. And depending on how many you need to get right, that'll determine how fast or how slow you're going to go throughout the test. Let me show you a great table. This is in your bonus material too, if you want to take another look. Here we go. We see here that, let's say you were aiming for a composite score of about a 26. Okay, in that case, first of all, not a bad score, 90th percentile score, so better than 90% of the rest of the people taking the test. Okay, and to get that 26, you need 75% of those answers correct. This is going to affect your pacing strategy. You know you need 3/4 of the test, so there's a quarter of the test that you don't have to worry about as much. So as you go through the test, you're going to want to work pretty rapidly, pick up as many points as possible, but if you get to questions that seem really difficult or seem really, really time-consuming, not a problem. Just strategically guess on them and keep going. On the other hand, if you're someone aiming for, let's say, a 31, you know you need 90% of the questions correct. So in that case, you've got to adjust your pacing accordingly. First of all, you need to review a lot more and make sure you've got all the concepts down to get them right. And you've got to adjust your pacing so you know you're speeding up and giving yourself the right amount of time to tackle those questions and answer them correctly. Let's take a look at a section just to break this down a little bit more. Spotlight on English. Let's see how this would work with an English section. So here, target scores on English. This is kind of interesting because we'll look at how many you need to get correct. Again, for that 26, well, 90th percentile score, 60 correct answer choices. So there are 75 total, so 60 out of 75 correct. So I only can get about 15 wrong. And again, this is going to affect, first of all, where I budget my time when I'm studying, because again, we talked about how we'll know how many times